Cowboys' swirling question, obviously, is offensive line and where they stand. What's your feeling right now with what they have constructed?
I mean, they're in a break glass scenario right now. I mean, this is the best that they have. This is all that they can put forward right now. Obviously, swinging Smith out to the left tackle is going to be the only option that they have right now because Waletzko's not a real option. Ball's not a real option. So here comes your first-round draft pick that you were hoping would fill in at the guard position for you this year, and all of a sudden you're having to break glass and force him out to the left tackle position prior to him being ready, prior to him even having any substantial snaps at it throughout the offseason. So this is where the Cowboys are at. Connor McGovern, I think, is a consistent play at guard. And versus a 3-4 defense, I think that you're actually going to be in an okay position with him going into this game.
All right, so we keep hearing Jerry, and we'll talk with Jerry on Friday, but we keep hearing Jerry say, all right, look, we're gonna help here, we're gonna chip here, we're gonna play action, and all these things, but when you help here, that's gonna affect this play over here. What's their best way to, and I guess we could just start with this Buccaneers team first, but what's their best way to balance where they help and where they apply that?
I would say, number one, you're going to want to have to establish a running game. That is right off the back, and that's easier said than done when you start looking at some of the defensive linemen that they have, obviously with their big boy from my University of Washington, big Vita. That's going to be a hard, boulder to try to move off the line of scrimmage. But, again, going back to that 3-4 setting, you have natural seams there. So when you start looking between the tackle and that center box, you have a way to get your guard up to that next level and get him straight on one of these smaller, faster linebackers. So one of the best things that the Cowboys can do is establish a running game and be persistent with that. And then from there, they're going to have to take a page out of what you're going to see from TB12. His offensive line is beat up substantially more than Dallas is. So what you're going to see from him is getting the ball out quick. A lot of RPO type things, one-step slant, things that are going to frustrate and not allow these defensive linemen and the fast linebackers of Tampa Bay to have any kind of access to Dak.
Man, you just used a word that popped into my head immediately is how
TB12.
No, not that. Never that. Never that. Is how frustrating do you imagine it does get for a defensive player where no matter how much you're beating the person in front of you, you are not taking the quarterback down?
It's very frustrating, and you'll see it happen. I mean, you can watch both sides of the ball. You can watch Dallas' defensive line, which they obviously on paper have the advantage personnel-wise, or you can watch it from the other side of things, in terms of Big Vita and those guys and top Bowles trying to generate some kind of pressure from that second level, because that's where his advantage is. Big Vita clogging up things, taking the center and a guard out of each and every play, because if you don't, that's disrespectful to him, and he's just going to lift your man off his feet. But you're going to have guys coming from the second level bringing pressure. Levante David, Shaq Barrett. I mean, these guys move around the ball now pretty doggone quick, and these are some of the faster linebackers. So you cannot allow these guys to get off the ball, get up the field, and have an opportunity to get their hands on Dak. So get the ball out of his hands quickly, and let your guys get some YAC yardage, yardage after catch.
And yeah, because that's what San Francisco did so well. That's what Mike McDaniel wants to do in Miami so well, is get the yards after catch, open those up. Go ahead, Kevin.
Well, I just wanted to ask something about that specifically. How telling is YAC yardage for how good a wide receiver is? Do those things have to go hand in hand? Do you think to be a great wide receiver, you have to be able to pile up the yards after catch yardage as well, or not necessarily?
Not necessarily. There's so many different styles of receivers nowadays, and you've seen it come in waves, generation after generation. We had the big boy receiver. When I was drafted, you had T.O. and you had the Roy Williams and the Calvin Johnsons, where everybody was 6'3", 6'4", 200-plus pounds. And then over the past 5 years, it's kind of went to the Cooper Kupps, the Julian Edelmans, these smaller, quicker in-and-out guys that you really can't get your hands on. And now it's just a mixture and a blend. Right now you're talking about guys that can take the ball 5 yards and take it, 30 yards after receiving it and making that first guy miss. So this is really just a generational thing, and it really just depends on the type of system that you're in. When you start to go into a Tampa Bay, has larger receivers. You think about Mike Evans. Mike Evans is a gargantuan. He's ginormous out there. You think about Julio Jones. He's a big receiver as well. These are guys that you have to worry about not only on the big shots and the jump balls, but also when you start thinking about the red zone. Look at their tight end position. You know, one thing about TB12 is he loves a good tight end. These guys have Cameron Brate. They got Kyle Rudolph. These are not small human beings that are going to be up there. So he's going to have opportunity to give his guys the ball, and it's just going to be just post game. You know, just like basketball, just body guys up, back shoulder. He's a master of that. So that's what the Dallas Cowboys are going to have to deal with in this game.
And I've seen a couple people feel this way about Dak. Do you think that leading receivers to yards after catch is Dak's forte, or do you think it's a little bit different with him? Put you in a tough spot.
Dak is most successful, and I continue to stand on this mountain by myself. He's most successful off of play action. And I think that allows for him to have the big plays. When you ask Dak to sit back and throw the ball, take a 5-step drop out of the shotgun, so a 7-step drop from under center, and just try to throw the thing down the field, I don't think that's not where he flourishes. Can he do it? Absolutely he can. Is that something that you want him to be dependent on or rely on? No. You much rather him have to drop back and throw a slant route. You much rather him drop back and have to throw a little in route or an option route to Dalton Schultz. That's why Schultz is your franchise player right now, because of the 10 to 12 yard routes that are sure throws for Dak. You know, Schultz is better at YAC yardage than like a Jason Witten is, but what was Witt? Witt was, hey, give me 5 yards down the field, give me 12 yards down the field. I'm going to catch this thing, and every now and then I'll give you some YAC yardage, but I'm going to go to the Hall of Fame simply because of the ability to get open.
Yeah, he could also fall for YAC yardage, too. That was also a really good benefit. Because I guess then, so we're trying to get the ball out quick, and I'm trying to figure out, is Pollard that option? Is Schultz is it Ferguson? What is the responsibility? What's of the wide receivers? Do they have to play faster? Do they have to? Where is their mindset on how they can help Dak in this?
Yeah, I think just converting on those crucial contested catches, because you got to think about the type of defense that these guys are going to be going against. There's not going to be a lot of spins within that 10 to 12 yard barrier, right? A lot of the big plays are going to be on the single high side, comebacks, deep posts, time post routes. Curl routes. There's going to be those ISO routes on the outside, because you have these 4 linebackers that are going to be spanning across the 53.5 yards of space, and they all can run. So windows of opportunity aren't going to stay open long, because these guys are 4-3, 4-4 linebackers. These guys have to get the balls in their hands, win their one-on-one matchups when they are present, and be alert for the hot routes. Todd Bowles, if we know anything about him, this dude is going to blitz. And we know after a whole offseason of studying the Cowboys, of losing last year, he's going to want some retribution. Not only that, he also sees a wounded animal at the offensive line. So he's going to bring some pressure. So there are going to be plenty of opportunities that you guys are referring to for YAC yardage, but these guys are going to have to make those contested catches, shed that first guy, and see what they're made of.
Is it more fun to say YAC yardage or TB12?
I don't know, man. They're both going to have their play in this game for sure.
Just know that it irritates Kevin when you say TB12 because that's the one. So it's more fun to irritate Kevin at the end of the day. I think that's more fun for all of us. The Mike McCarthy was talking about CeeDee Lamb in double coverage the other day, and he was like, "No, yeah, Dak's got to throw it. You got to kind of get the team to honor that. Yeah, CeeDee can beat you today. No matter what." And I think a lot of people are nervous about what CeeDee Lamb can be. Should we quell those nerves? Is he that good?
I think talent-wise he is. I don't know how far he's come along in terms of his mental state, in terms of his emotional intelligence, in terms of his psyche and understanding the ins and outs of defenses. And he hasn't had to face this at this level of play, of competition, being double teamed, being that primary source. Now, obviously, the games he was called upon to do that last year, he obviously showed up and showed out. But that was just a sample size. He's going to have to do that day in, week in and week out now. And it's going to be very interesting to see how he handles that type of pressure. And Todd Bowles is not going to make it easy on him. But I do believe that he's going to have to earn the right to get double teamed. I don't think he has that yet. I think teams are still going to go at him they're still going to try to apply pressure to Dak. And when they apply pressure, most of the time it's going to come in the form of a single high, which gives CeeDee the opportunity to win one-on-one matchups.
And I really like that. He still has to earn it, because that kind of makes me feel like we have a shot to trick some people right now, Kevin, before they catch on to what's going on too soon.
Are there any other, whether it's broader positionally or one-on-one matchups, that you think the Cowboys might have a decided advantage, or really any advantage?
I think the running game. I really think the running game. I think if they can find some way to get Vita leaning one direction or another, I think they have an opportunity, simply because over the guards, nobody's going to be lined up over those guys, depending on which side Vita tends to shade. So you have literally free reign for your guards to get up to the second level, and you're going to have to be able to come downhill. Don't try to run this thing outside. I know TP needs to have a role in this game, but this is not the game to try to go outside, because these guys are just entirely too fast. Almost all their linebackers are faster than everybody that Dallas has in the backfield, and that's just not going to be a good recipe for success.
Power in the middle, then, Kevin, is what I'm hearing there. And then on the other side of the ball, the Cowboys defense, what is it that they're the best at? Is it their secondary? Is difficult to go up against? Is it just because they have Micah that he can be a disruptor? What is it that they're best at?
Variety. This is like I refer to it as like a box of Legos. Sometimes you might have the big block at your house and a little bucket that has about 3 or 4 different pieces. When you go, Dallas Cowboys, you go to Dan Quinn's house, he has the bucket that has all the pieces. He can make whatever the heck he wants to, simply because he has that personnel that he can access. So these guys can come out in any type of front possible. They have the defensive linemen that are big defensive linemen that can be run stoppers. They have defensive linemen that can get pressure by being vertical guys, using their quickness, like Tristan Hills and the Bohannas. Those guys can get vertical. Then you have defensive ends. Obviously, you have D-Law, and you have guys like D-Law. You got guys like Sam Williams, who's going to be a big guy for the Dallas Cowboys. Then you got the big personnel at the secondary level. You can bring Curse in. You can bring Bell in. These guys have a lot of different fronts and a lot of different looks that they can give you. And I think that's going to be their greatest advantage this year, that no matter what team they face, they can match up to them and change that up weekly.
I think I'm feeling this analogy, because does that mean if all else fails, you just dump all the pieces out on there and they'll step on them and be pissed off?
Exactly. Home Alone style.